All right, guys. The first thing I want to talk about, the first repair type system that I want to talk about is actually two in one. I call them type C repairs in the other video, and also doing nothing. Oftentimes when cracks show up, when the house starts tilting, doors sticking, whatever, tilting, not so much. Let me reset. All right, guys. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the first repair type system. I call them type C repairs or just doing nothing. So oftentimes, just because a crack shows up in the house, if you saw the investigation video, you'll know just some cracking doesn't tell me that the house is settling, and usually doesn't start triggering red flags right away. So you may end up patching a crack here or adjusting a door there or all of that fun jazz. And when it continues to come back, or when multiple problems begin to indicate that there's foundation movement, that might be when you actually decide to call a foundation repair contractor or start looking into all this stuff. That all costs money. The drywall, spackle, the door adjustments or whatever, hinges, maybe you reframed a door or a window because it was either not operating correctly or because it was tilting in visually out of alignment. I mean, once a house is settled, on average, I want to say maybe about 2 to 3 inches is when people start calling us. And oftentimes homeowners have done repairs before then. That all costs money. So your type C repairs, is all just like cosmetic stuff, right? You got doors, adjust, reframe, install, whatever. Windows, drywall, sometimes tile, just stuff. The problem is when you have a foundation problem, foundation movement problem, oftentimes it's not gonna just go away. There's a possibility if there's a compaction issue and then the home settles down, the ground subsides, and then it stops settling. That does happen. That very much happens. Not very often, but it does. It's the sort of thing where if you have time, you're not looking to sell real quick, you probably want to monitor it, right? Now, the other caution that I have for you on these type C repairs is sometimes people freak out and sell their home, or they sell their home and then freak out, whichever one. So they go through and you do this like whole remodel and they try to patch cracks and stuff like that. That is super very illegal without the disclosure stuff. And if you get any type of a foundation repair specialist who's worth their salt, 98% of the time they can detect those cracks that you fixed. They should be going in with a flashlight, looking at the corners of all the openings and doors and windows to try and make sure that there was no patchwork done over something, especially if there's new paint or a recent remodel done. So that's for you realtors out there. That's something you want to keep your eyes on. I'll explain that when we go through our investigation phase. But it's something that as a homeowner you want to be aware of. Oftentimes, if you have a problem like this, you don't want to just do all these type C repairs and then sell the home as quickly as possible. Good, quick way to land yourself in a lawsuit. Good, quick way for things just to go south really quick. So the other one is the cost of doing nothing. Cost of doing nothing. And I spoke in our overview, our paradigm of foundation repair video, about the cost of doing nothing. I'm going to use the same example for you right now. So if I've got a home that's worth $500,000, right? That's kind of like the average, I want to say, for most of the homes in California. So that's what I'm rolling with. Anyway, would you buy a house that you knew had a foundation problem for full price? Absolutely not. Now, it depends on the nature and the extent of the problem, right? So bear in mind, guys, if you do this process the right way, if you follow our flow chart in the video that explains how you're supposed to go through all this, you're hiring civil engineers, you're looking at permitting, you need estimating, you got all this fun stuff. So you can be easily $5 to $8 grand into just investigating a problem before you figure out what the price to fix it is gonna be, right? Now, oftentimes it's not as expensive as you thought, and sometimes it's super expensive. So taking a broad generalization, I'll pick a conservative number. Would you ask for $5,000, $7,000 back? No, that's just the cost of engineering, right? So easier to operate off of percentages. A lot of people will negotiate, and it's feasible to negotiate up to 20%, but again, depending on the nature and extent of the problem, you're not going to get that much off a house. 15% is a little more reasonable. It's something that's negotiable, but going with an easy number, we can say 10%. So you'd ask for 10% off of $500,000, right? So if you're the one selling your home because you opted to do nothing, you did type C repairs, there's a problem, everyone knows it, the disclosures are good so you don't get sued, and now you've right off the bat lost $50,000, right? So depending on where we land on that paradigm, right? If I was assuming you had one 40-foot wall, then you have probably 8 piers on it, and if I said $2,000 a pier, you'd probably be looking somewhere around like $23,000 just for foundation repairs. And you have type C repairs, we'll throw $5,000 into it, so you're at 28 grand. Which means of the 50K, somebody spent 28K and you lost the rest because you chose not to do the work yourself, right? That's not including if you were to do polymer injections or some form of compaction grouting. By the way, these are all general terms in California prices and also based off of depths of installations, types of piers, and a little more expensive on things for being conservative. Anyway, so same thing, if I were to do polymer injections, if you had 40 feet, you have about 10 injections. Each injection, if we average 2 depths, let's just say 100 pounds to keep it easy. So you'd be at, 800 pounds, 8,000 pounds times, what, $10 per out? That was right, 800 pounds. So you'd be somewhere around, I don't know, you'd be like ballpark 18K, I would guess, for polymer injection. And then the rest of that $50,000 that you lost, plus the 5,000, so what, 23,000 for something like that? You lose a lot of money by doing nothing. So most foundation repair contractors, as long as you're not in escrow, will give you a free evaluation, which will provide a lot of valuable information for engineers. So I recommend letting them come out and look at the house. They will give you some sort of a detailed estimate so you can start wrapping your head around the budget and the pricing and stuff like that. And then you can hire the engineer with information like, hey, my house is down this far. When a foundation repair contractor first comes to your home, don't recommend buying right away because A, you want competitive pricing, B, everyone's gonna tell you that their solution is the best. They're gonna be somewhere on that paradigm and they're gonna tell you that they're the best and this is why and so on and so forth. Right? Figure out from an engineer where on that paradigm you want to fall, what works, what doesn't, risks and benefits and risks to everything, and go from there based off of pricing and competition and so on and so forth, right? So the whole time that you're sitting there, when you have somebody come out, they do it, the house could be getting worse. So if it takes you a year to figure out what's going on, the house could be getting worse during that year. Whereas if a contractor came out, gave you a quote, you guys did all the proper permitting and stuff, and then they fixed it right away, you could probably fix it for what, 28K including the interior, just guesstimating there. Versus if the problem continued, now suddenly it's not just 40 feet, now suddenly it's 50 feet or another corner or a jog or a twist or something else happens that makes it worse, then this number just spikes straight up, right? So the cost of doing nothing is the cost of loss of property value. The cost of type C repairs is the loss of property value as well as whatever the cost of those repairs are. And then to sort of encompass all of that, the problem gets worse. It gets more expensive the longer you wait to move forward with it. So, I mean, that is part of the purpose of me giving you guys all these videos, so you have a lot of information to look through. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop a comment or message me directly. Like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever the other stuff is. Thanks so much. I hope you guys are having an awesome day.